Do you struggle with learning the rules of golf? Whether you've been playing for years or are brand new to the game, this is the podcast for you. Golf Rules School is the podcast to demystify the rules of golf and empower you with knowledge so you can have more confidence and lower your scores. Welcome back to Golf Rules School podcast with Blakey and Marcela. I'm Marcela Smith, and Blakey is down in Australia again, right?
Yep, down in Australia. It's getting colder as we head into winter down under.
Down under. Well, we hopefully learned a lot last week, and today we're going to talk about your clubs and the golf ball. And it sounds like, oh, how long can you talk about a golf ball? But we're going to talk about it for quite a bit because there's a ton of rules, obviously, related to the golf ball.
Yeah, pretty much everything is related to the golf ball. But just before we do that, well, we've heard about my story of how I got into learning the rules of golf. How about you, Marcella? How did you get into learning the rules of golf?
Yeah, well, I didn't start playing golf until the age of 40.
So you've only been playing golf for about 2 years then?
I started when I was 40 and I'm 40 and a half now. Yes. And I never played any hand-eye sports whatsoever. So it was kind of a challenge just to learn how to hit the ball. So I started competing and really liked that feeling. So I attended a golf seminar by the Northern California Golf Association, a rules seminar, and learned a lot and took a ton of notes. And I don't know, a few months later, I was playing in a couples tournament, but I was playing in Pebble Beach in a couples tournament with my then husband. And this was a 3-course tournament, Pebble Beach, Spyglass, and Poppy. And I was excited. And it's probably about the 5th hole. And I hit a simple little 60-yard approach shot to the green that normally I can hit okay. Turns out it plugged into a bunker. It was a little fried egg in a really soft sand bunker. And I looked at it and go, I can't hit that, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a drop over here. And my husband said, you can't take an unplayable lie from a bunker and come out of the bunker. And I said, no, I learned this. I can do this. And he said, no, you got to stay in the bunker. And I said, I don't think so. I just learned this. The other couple we were playing with said, no, you can't do that. And our caddy, our professional caddy, said the same thing. Oh, no. If you're going to take an unplayable in a bunker, you have to stay in the bunker. And I go, I think you guys are wrong. But I acquiesced, picked up my ball because it was a partner format, which meant my ball didn't need to count. Of course, my husband at the time, said, well, he tried to make his putt. He missed a par. He got a bogey, unfortunately. About 5 holes later, we saw a rules official. And I said, excuse me, what's the scoop? I thought I learned this, that I could take a drop here outside the bunker, just like at the location that I last hit from. And she said, sweetheart, absolutely, you can do that. You can take stroke and distance anytime you want. Don't let anyone tell you any differently. I mean, that's kind of when I knew. That was the moment I knew
that you love the rules of golf.
No, I knew I could not be married to that man any longer. But no, I knew that people don't know the rules and it's important to know them. And it could have put us into 2nd place in this tournament instead of 3rd. You never know. So it's something that I just started being more and more interested in, and then attended a USGA 3-day workshop, which is brutal. 8 hours of people talking. It's just a nightmare if you have ADHD like me. But that's how it started. That's my story.
Number 1, learn the rules of golf. Number 2, pick your right partner in golf and in life.
Yes, pick a better partner. I'm going to get better at that.
And we have a simple golf rules question of the episode, as we've done for the last couple of episodes. This one is, how long can you search for your ball before it is considered lost? How long can you search for your ball before it is considered lost? So have a listen to the episode. You'll hear the answer in there, and then we will confirm the answer at the end of the episode. So what are we talking about today, Marcella?
We're talking about the golf ball. Before we talk about the golf ball, let's just talk about your clubs for a minute and what comprises a set of clubs. For those newbies who are listening, what's your basic set?
Yeah, so last week we talked about the maximum you can have is 14. And what does that set actually look like? Most likely you're going to have one driver, That's the longest club in the bag, the one that you most likely will be measuring with. Well, you will be measuring with it if it's the longest club in your bag, except the putter. Then you'll have a couple of fairway woods, maybe a 3 and a 5 wood. Then a couple of hybrids or one hybrid that sort of is a mix between a wood and an iron. And then you might have 6 or 7 irons, a couple of wedges, to get you out of that bunker. And then your most used club is the putter. That's the one for rolling the ball along the ground.
Yep, it's my favorite club for sure. So let's talk about the golf ball and all of the rules that pertain to the golf ball. What should we start with?
Well, the golf ball has to be conforming, and there's a list of conforming golf balls. So you just got to make sure that you use a conforming ball, and most that you buy in the pro shop will be, if not all, will be conforming. Then you make a stroke at your ball to get it out of the teeing area and start play of the hole. The ball any part of that ball must be within that teeing area for you to correctly start play of your hole. And then once you've hit it off there, then you go and find it and hit it again. Okay. And if you get to a certain situation where you're going to have to take relief, we'll talk about that further, but it all depends on where the ball is currently at rest. Okay. Whether you're going to take relief or you're going to take an unplayable or it's in a penalty area. There are other instances where you might be standing in a condition and you are able to take relief, but for the most part, it's where the ball is at rest. Now, before you start play the hole, what is one of the most important things you're going to do to your golf ball, Marcela?
Well, what you should do, it's not a must, it's a should, is mark your ball uniquely. Put a little mark on it that it's easy to identify as your ball.
How do you mark your golf ball?
Well, it's funny because you said the other day that you put different marks on some of them, and I do the same. I'll just use a consistent color. Sometimes it's just a dot, but usually I circle the number on the logo.
How I mark my golf ball is I find someone else's golf ball, and it's usually got a unique mark on it, and then I just use that for the rest of the round.
Perfect.
I'm very good at finding golf balls, especially when I'm on tour. I don't go out and steal golf balls that are in play, but I'm very good at finding them. And all the guys on tour have a unique mark on theirs. And I like to take their golf ball, if it's been abandoned, out of play so that no one goes and hits a wrong ball. And then when eventually I get to go and play golf, I'll just use one of those.
Well, it's funny because a long time ago, before I started playing golf, I was just walking on a course, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to just walk on a course. It's dangerous. And if you're a non-golfer, you think, what a pretty place to walk. But there was some guys playing golf and they hit an errant shot. It's clearly not where they intended to hit it, but I see it and it kind of bounces and it's right by me, and I'm going to pick it up and throw it over to them. That's a live ball. That ball's in play and they don't want me touching it, but I didn't know.
Yeah. The thing is, when you're on the golf course, don't touch any balls that aren't
not.
yours.
If you find a ball that's not yours, it could be someone else's ball in play. So you should not pick that up and go, oh, this is a Pro V1. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Or someone else could own that ball and that ball could be in play.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than hitting your ball over to another fairway, seeing this group walk past where you think your ball is, go over there and then not find your ball. And you're like, did they just steal my ball? And that is the worst feeling in golf, honestly.
Yeah, very frustrating. So that marking of your ball, you're going to put a marker on your ball. You should. And when you put a provisional ball into play, which we'll talk about later, you will want to put a different mark on that one so that you can identify that. So kind of have a couple different color pens, maybe. Also, I tell the ladies, I want to make sure that there's no chance in hell I'm going to accidentally hit the wrong ball, because what happens when you hit a wrong ball?
When you hit a wrong ball, it's going to be a general penalty, and you have to correct your mistake by going and finding your ball.
Yeah. And that's just, I've done it twice in competitions before. You'd think when you do something one time that it'd end it, but no, I've done it twice. So yeah, super important to make sure that it is your ball. And while we're on the lines of ball and hitting a wrong ball, make an intentional stroke at a ball that turns out not to be your ball in play. You should, if you're going to need to identify the ball, I shouldn't say you should, you must, if it's reasonable to think that I'm not sure this is my ball. I didn't see it land. It's kind of in thick grass, and there's a couple other balls very similar to mine. So I want to identify it. Yes, you can lift it. You no longer have to announce that you're going to lift your ball to identify it. You don't have to tell anyone, but you do have to put a mark down. It could be a T or a ball marker from your cap or a coin, or you could place your club down right next to it if you'd like. So you do need to mark it before you lift it to identify it. And once you've lifted it to identify it, then what?
Then you can replace it and play away.
We know, most of us know, we can't clean it in that situation. We can't clean off that ball unless it's so dirty that it can't be identified. And then we can clean a little bit of it just to the extent necessary to be able to identify it, which can't clean the whole thing. But the other thing is you can put it down the way you want. And this is an unusual one too, that most people don't necessarily know. If I wanted to line it up now, it's been lifted. If I want to line it up in a different way, I can do that. I can line that, put it down. As long as it's on the original spot, it doesn't matter what side the logo is or that sort of thing. There is one exception to that. See if I can stump Blakey on this one. If there's mud on that ball and someone has asked me to lift it because it was in their line of play, maybe near the green, and there was mud on it, I'm not allowed to clean it because they've asked me to lift it and get it out of the way because it's in their line, not on the putting green, again, off the green. But if I'm replacing it in a way that's very different from where if the mud was on top and I'm trying to put the mud on the bottom, that's probably going to improve that shot. So I can't do that. Right, Blakey?
Yeah, well, actually, if you turned the mud upside down, you'd be playing from a wrong place because your ball wouldn't be replaced in the same position.
So if there's no mud on it, it's not dirty, it's just a regular ball, you can line it up, put that line, direction, whatever, if you want to, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and when you are playing, you can't artificially heat your ball up. I mean, you can warm it up in your hands naturally, but you wouldn't be able to artificially heat it up or change the characteristics of the ball for your benefit. Basically, you just have to play with it as it lies. If you're playing early in the morning and it's been a frost, the ball isn't going to go as far until it hits the frost and then bounces out of bounds.
And that's going to happen. So what else do we need to know about that ball? So we talked about marking it before we pick it up. Sometimes we're going to accidentally cause our ball to move. And we talked earlier about the definition of moved, and that is it leaves its original spot, comes to rest on a different spot. But if we accidentally cause it to move, certain situations, there's no penalty. Other situations there are. So let's talk about those.
You pretty much don't touch your ball between tee and putting green. If your ball's in the middle of the fairway, then you've just got to go and play it, and you're not allowed to cause it to move. Okay, we talked about a practice swing. If you're having a practice swing and you accidentally cause your ball to move in the fairway or the rough, you're going to incur a penalty. So you need to put the ball back, replace it to its original spot, and add 1 stroke penalty to your score. However, on the putting green, which is the specially prepared area, you are allowed to mark and lift your ball and clean it. And also, there is no penalty if you accidentally cause your ball to move. We just need to help you assess what accidentally and deliberately is. Accidentally is when you don't mean to cause your ball to move, whereas deliberately, if you deliberately pick it up without marking the ball, that's an accident, but you deliberately moved the ball, so you're going to incur a penalty even on the putting green.
Yes. So let's talk about that for a second more. So when you accidentally cause your ball to move, so say you're taking a practice swing, again, not an intentional stroke at your ball, but just a practice swing to limber yourself up or kind of get through some rough that you're in and see what that's going to feel like. When you do that and you accidentally cause your ball to move, either because you made contact with the ball or because the grass bushes that's kind of somewhat attached or related to where the ball is, that causes it to move. You've now accidentally caused your ball to move, and that's going to incur you a penalty. And that's in the general area. It's in a bunker. It's in the penalty area. You get like a free pass on that in the teeing area, because the teeing area is really the most lenient area of the course. We can do a lot more there than most people have ever even heard of doing. But the putting green and the teeing area, if you accidentally cause your ball at rest to move, there's no penalty. And you can just, if it's on the putting green, you can replace it. It's in the teeing area. You can place it wherever you want at that point, right?
Yeah, and there is one other area where you're not going to get penalized for causing your ball to move, and that is when you're searching for your golf ball. So you've hit it into the bunda or into the woods. And
what's the bunda?
Yeah,
Bunda?
like junk, I guess. It's like, it's a horrible area to be, so don't go there. So if you head into that area and you're searching for your ball, you're trying to find your ball, you've got 3 minutes to search for your ball. If you're looking around in long grass and then you accidentally cause your ball to move, there is no penalty in that circumstance, and you just replace the ball at the estimated spot, because you're not going to know exactly where the ball was, but you just replace it to your best ability on the estimated spot where it was. If you couldn't see it, you know that it was deep down in the grass. It wasn't a case of, I couldn't see it, so it must have been sitting up on this really nice lie. Okay, it must have been deep down in the grass, and you just replace it deep down in the grass.
And for those that aren't watching this on YouTube or a platform where you can see, please go there, go to YouTube, because we're showing you an example of what that looks like to accidentally cause your ball to move. We're showing the grass, we're showing replacing. So those are nice little visuals for you. In lots of areas of these podcasts, we'll be showing that, what we call B-roll in the business. Some stuff that's happened out there in the world, which is really helpful if you're a visual learner like I am. Let's talk for a second about Phil Mickelson and Shinnecock, which is one of the sort of somewhat recent situations that happened where someone was hitting a moving ball.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange situation, not one that we've seen too many times over the course of tour golf. But he got frustrated on the green and putted down, and the ball kept rolling past the hole, and he ran down and he made an intentional stroke at it while it was moving, which incurred a general penalty. And then he just played the ball from its new spot.
Yeah, he looked like he was a little bit angry. And there's another instance. This is not related, but it just sort of a stress or anger that you can see on a player that is really against the sportsmanship or the spirit of the game. Kind of reminds me of a Sergio Garcia striking the bunker ground in anger when he hits the bad shot. And the fact that that's not a penalty. And most of us would think that, well, wait a minute, the ball's still in there. He hit it once. It's still in the bunker, same bunker. But yet striking the ground, not a practice stroke, not a practice swing that hits the ground, but there's no penalty for that. So go figure.
Yeah. I mean, we're supposed to look after the course. That's part of the behavior of playing golf, is you're supposed to take care of the course. With the bunker, the damage wasn't so much that you couldn't rake it and get it back to what it was before and what it should be, that the ground staff have manicured it properly. But it's not a great look. The behavior there of getting angry and taking it out in the course happens a lot, but it's not something that should happen at all. Golf is just like the game of life, basically. You have to accept the good bounces and the bad bounces, and it's not necessarily fair. It is a challenge. The game of golf is a challenge more of your character than it is a game of skill, So we test you with these, or golf tests you with these bad bounces, with these shocking lies, with these lipped out putts, and then you have to come back stronger and have the will to carry on.
Yeah, keep your composure and keep playing and not go crying.
Not go crying. That could be our tagline.
Don't cry. There's no crying in golf. That's our tagline.
That's right.
But there is, unfortunately. Well, there was crying the other day when Michael Block cried all day, all week, and tears of joy. That was exciting to watch him at the PGA Championship. So let's wrap up this week and give you the answer to the simple golf rules question.
Yeah. So the answer to the simple golf rules question for the episode is, how long can you search for your ball? And it is 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And then after the 3 minutes, it's considered lost. And we're going to talk about lost and stroke and distance and unplayable in a future episode. So stick around for that one.
I hope there was something meaty in there for you this week, and you learned a little bit about the rules that pertained to the golf ball. If you have further questions on the golf ball or anything else, feel free to comment in the comments here in the podcast, or each of our Instagram, Girlfriend's Guide to Golf, or at GolfRules Questions. And be sure and give us a review if you're liking what you're hearing of this podcast. We'll see you next time.